Monday morning, 7:05 a.m. Trump posts on Truth Social, all caps naturally, that the US and Iran have had very good and productive conversations, and that all military strikes are paused for 5 days. Oil dropped 13% in minutes. Stocks surged. Bitcoin jumped 5% to 71,000. 2 hours later, Iran went on record through their state news agency and said there were no talks, no negotiations, no contact, not even through intermediaries. So either the President of the United States announced a peace deal that didn't exist, or he posted it 2 hours before the US stock market opened to engineer a relief rally. You decide. I already have. And here's what that tells us about where Bitcoin goes from here, because this moment actually matters more than most people realize. Let me give you the sequence of events. Friday, Trump said the US would obliterate Iran's power plants if Tehran didn't reopen the Strait of Hormuz by Monday evening. Oil spiked. Markets sold off. Gas prices hit $3.96, the highest since August 2022, up 34% in a single month. For context, the biggest one-month gas price spike after Hurricane Katrina was smaller than this. Sunday, Iran's IRGC said, "If you strike electricity, we will strike electricity," and announced the strait stays closed indefinitely. Monday morning, 2 hours before market open, Trump posts the peace deal. Oil dumps 11%. Stocks rally. Bitcoin rips. Then Iran denies it ever happened. Then markets gave back half the gains. Here's what Bloomberg called it: a 5-minute rally. A relief trade built on a statement that the other side in the war publicly said was fiction. The New Republic went further and called it outright market manipulation, pointing out specifically that the pause conveniently ends at the end of the trading week. I'm not here to make a political argument. I'm here to tell you what this means for your portfolio. And what it means is this: we are in a market that moves on one man's Truth Social posts. Not earnings, not data, posts. That is the environment we're operating in right now. And if you want to stay ahead of what comes next, subscribe and turn on notifications, because the next post could come any morning. And the window between a post and a market move is now measured in minutes. Here's the thing about this pause that everyone is getting wrong. The Strait of Hormuz is still closed. Saudi Arabia and the UAE are now reportedly allowing US forces to use their bases for operations against Iran, which is a massive escalation, not a de-escalation. Oil is still at $91 a barrel after the drop. Before this war, it was $65. It hasn't gone back. It won't go back in 5 days. US gas prices have risen for 23 straight days. The IEA already released a record 400 million barrels from strategic reserves and said it might need to release more. This is not a situation that resolves in a week because someone posted about productive conversations. And here's the part I want you to hold on to. The reason this rally feels hollow, the reason markets gave back half their gains within hours, is because serious money doesn't move on vibes. Serious money looks at whether the strait is actually open. It isn't. Serious money looks at whether Iran is at the table. They say they aren't. Serious money looks at whether oil structurally comes down. It hasn't. What did move on vibes? Retail. The people who saw the headline and bought first, asked questions later. This is the pattern that plays out over and over. Retail buys the relief. Smart money sells into it. And then when the reality reasserts itself, and it will, the dip comes back, maybe deeper than before. That dip, by the way, is your entry, not a crash, an entry. Let me tell you why I'm still bullish on Bitcoin to 80,000. Not despite all of this chaos, but because of it. Every single thing happening right now is a stress test on the legacy financial system. And the legacy system keeps failing it. A mysterious trader placed over $200 million in long positions on Bitcoin and Ethereum before the US market opened Monday, before the Trump post, before the oil dump. 200 million in crypto longs, positioned ahead of a move that hadn't happened yet. Someone knew something, or made a very calculated bet that a relief rally was coming, regardless of whether the peace deal was real. That's not retail. That's someone who understands that in this environment, Bitcoin moves on geopolitical signals faster than any traditional asset because it trades 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, with no circuit breakers, no trading halts, no, the exchange is closed, come back Monday. When something happens on a Sunday, Bitcoin already priced it in before Wall Street opened. That's not a bug. That's the entire point of the asset. Here's my read on the 80,000 thesis. It doesn't require the war to end. It doesn't require the Fed to cut rates tomorrow. It requires one thing: the market to accept that the current chaos is the new baseline, not a temporary disruption, and to start pricing Bitcoin as the asset that operates outside of it. That rotation is already happening. A mysterious trader placed over 200 million in long positions on Bitcoin and Ethereum before the US market opened on March 23rd. That's not panic. That's positioning. If you want the breakdown of exactly what technical levels I'm watching on Bitcoin's path to 80,000, where the resistance is, where the support holds, like this video and subscribe. I'll have that chart breakdown up this week. Now let me say the thing that most financial channels won't say directly. The people running this economy right now are making decisions based on one day's news cycle at a time. After 4 weeks of threats, bombings, and death, Trump paused the war with a Truth Social post 2 hours before markets opened, and the pause conveniently ends at the end of the trading week. That's not strategy. That's improvisation with nuclear-adjacent consequences. And every time there's an improvised decision at that scale, whether it's a tariff tweet, a war announcement, a fake peace deal, the people who pay for it aren't the people making the decision. It's the person filling their gas tank at $3.96. It's the family whose grocery bill went up because supply chains repriced when oil spiked. It's the retirement account that sold on fear and missed the relief rally by 48 hours. The system isn't broken. The system is working exactly as designed, for the people at the top of it. And the only rational response for everyone else is to hold assets that the people at the top cannot control. Gold has worked for centuries. Bitcoin works in real time. That's not idealism, that's arithmetic. Here's where we actually stand. The war pause is real enough that oil dropped. The war peace is fiction enough that Iran publicly denied it. Gas prices rose for 23 straight days, hitting the highest level since August 2022, a bigger one-month spike than after Hurricane Katrina. The Strait of Hormuz is still closed. Saudi Arabia and UAE are now bringing US forces in. This is not de-escalation. This is a reshuffling of the deck before the next hand is dealt. Bitcoin at 70,000 is not the top. The setup hasn't changed. The Fed hasn't printed. The liquidity event that drives the next leg up hasn't arrived yet, which means if you've been waiting for an entry, you're still in the window. 80,000 before summer. That's my call. Come back to this video in 90 days. And if this gave you a different angle on what's actually happening, not just the headline, but the mechanism behind it, subscribe, because the next Trump post is coming, and you want to be the person who understood what it meant before the market did.